I think it's only a matter of time before one of them figures out how to file state kidnapping charges against those that are abducting people who are in this country legally.
Deporting him back to El Salvador was always going to be the end result. There is never going to be a world in which this is an individual who's going to live a peaceful life in Maryland because he is a foreign terrorist and an MS-13 gang member.
Vamos a hacer América grande otra vez.
America grande otra vez.
Yeah!
Mr. President, I'd like...
The Democrats are losing it so badly that they're now contemplating criminal charges against President Trump or anybody else who is out there enacting the administration policies. This was a clip shared over from Western Lensman with former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, who is saying that attorney generals are now meeting and figuring out how they can charge Trumpers with crimes. And it's not just this one take, okay? There's this other representative from Congress. She's a Democrat from California who's going to come and explain. They have these meetings every single week behind the scenes to figure out how they can do this. They've already done this before, so it's not crazy land. They concocted schemes to rig 2020, then they concocted additional schemes to rig 2024, and they used the law to do it in both instances. And 2016, they used the law to do it too. So they're obviously doing this, and this is why I think guys like Dan Bongino, Todd Blanche, right, all of the people, Alina Abba, who kind of materialized and gone into the administration are real heroes because of the sacrifice that they'll have to make when they come out of the administration and they face these lunatics who are all plotting to imprison them all constantly. So here is what the former governor had to say about it. Let's charge Trump and ICE and everybody else with literal kidnapping for protecting America and getting illegals out of our country.
Absolutely. In fact, I think the attorney generals play a really important role right now. I think it's only a matter of time before one of them figures out how to file state kidnapping charges against those that are abducting people who are in this country legally and sending them to this new concentration camp that Donald Trump laughs about having created.
They're calling it a concentration camp now. Okay, this dude's going to run for president.
In El Salvador, attorney generals are going to play a critically important role in these days ahead fighting this fascist moment in American history.
Yeah, a fascist moment in American history. Our country was invaded. These people are illegals. They do not have a right to be here. Kilmar did not have a right to be here. He was ordered removed. There was just a withholding to El Salvador. His status changed and now he's gone. He could have self-deported and gone on his own accord, but he didn't. He had plenty of notice. So now they're turning this into criminal. It's a criminal attack. It's a fascistic state. They're nuts. They've gone mental, but they're serious about this. Here was that other woman, Representative Laura Friedman from California, doing the same.
Every single week, we have a litigation working group where a large group of us, and I'm talking there's maybe 75 members of the House, sit down every single week with the AGs to talk about legal strategy. This is all going on every single week behind the scenes. It is nonstop talk, nonstop introduction of bills and legislation, nonstop being on social media as much as we can without being throttled and without the, crazy analytics and doing all these things.
Every week, 75 plus, meeting to concoct lawfare schemes to go and continue to attack the president. Now, they did this many other times and it's backfired on them repeatedly. I think it's kind of a dumb thing to be fighting for other citizens of other countries against your own citizens in your own country and to be dedicating all your time to that because you've got some lunatics in your party who demand it. Now, Jake Auchincloss said this, who is a congressman from Massachusetts. He said the following on X. He said, habeas corpus is the cornerstone of Americans' freedom. If Trump will not return Kilmar, the judiciary should send the U.S. Marshals to El Salvador to go get him. Okay? Congressman is saying, let's go invade a foreign nation to go bring back an illegal alien who has no right to be in our country at all. Never did. What? So he's trying to usurp Trump, who is in charge of our foreign policy? Sounds like this guy is actually arguing for an insurrection of the executive branch and trying to violate the due deference that is owed to them. Pretty insane from congressmen. Now, in addition, we've got this weird congressman. Van Hollen, also clipped via Western Lensman, said that Van Hollen is going to go down to El Salvador. He thinks he is 007. I'm going to get him out of there and come back to my constituents in America and tell them I'm fighting for MS-13 gangbangers. Here's what he said.
The door this week to show solidarity with his family. As you indicated, the Trump administration itself has admitted that he was abducted and sent to this prison in error.
No.
He should get his due process.
No, that was a poison pill from a suspended DOJ attorney who did a terrible job actually interpreting what the administration did and communicating that via court filings. And you guys latched onto that when in reality, the power existed to remove him. Stephen Stephen Miller has finally corrected the record on that at last.
Show no intent of doing anything to bring him back anytime soon, that is for sure. If by midweek, I mean, this could be tomorrow, nothing happens, you go to El Salvador, do you have a hope of leaving with him when you come back, or what can you accomplish there?
Nothing.
Kate, I hope to meet with officials of the government of El Salvador. I don't know if the president is going to be in country at that time. I also hope to visit this notorious prison to see Abrego Garcia, to let him know that his family and friends are very worried about him, as am I. I think that the situation for both the Trump administration and the president of El Salvador is unsustainable, because the Supreme Court, as you reported, by 9-0, has said the Trump administration has to facilitate his return. And you have the president of El Salvador saying, well, I don't have the power to release him. Both things are untrue. The president could, of course, facilitate his return. After all, the United States is paying El Salvador money for this prison. And of course, the president of El Salvador could release him. So at some point, I think this becomes unsustainable. People are going to keep calling for his release because the Trump administration itself has admitted he was wrongfully whisked out of the country. And
and they corrected that. He was not wrongfully whisked out of the country. He was removed, and he had a lot of due process before that removal took effect. And now he's back home with his people. And all of the papusa nonsense about he's under attack from his co-gang, his rival gang, it's not a situation there anymore. And so if these people want to make an argument that there should be an exception for him, like he was illegal, but we should have him in our country anyways, they can make that argument, but they haven't made that argument. But that is the argument that they should be making, because he is an illegal. He had no status here. The removal to El Salvador, saying that was an error, is also a red herring. You'd be okay if we just removed him to Venezuela or Colombia or Guatemala? No, they'd be screaming about that too. They want an exception to the rule. They want lawlessness is really what they want. And they know that this one has that error word that's been floated out there. If they can crack this one, then they can neuter the law across the board for all of the illegals, because then illegal doesn't mean anything. As long as you can come and say, well, he's like an electrician and a barber now, and he's got a wife and he's got kids who's a citizen and he impregnated her too, and then you can just say, well, the law doesn't matter, we should have an exception, and he can make up some claim about papusas and asylum status. We're done with that crap, all right? So he's gone, and I hope he goes down and visits there. He can hang out with him. He can have a bunk right next to him if he wants, for all I care. Here was Caroline Levitt explaining that this dude is not coming back, and the fact that you guys in the media can't figure it out, and the fact that you're still preening for an illegal alien in our country is ridiculous.
Still going off the El Salvador questions, yesterday in the Oval Office, administration officials made it very clear that El Salvador is responsible for Mr. Abrego Garcia, yet El Salvador's president said we're not going to do anything with him. So my question is, who is responsible for this man and where he's going to end up?
Well, no. First of all, President Bukele said that he is not going to smuggle a foreign terrorist back into the United States of America, as many in this room in the Democrat Party seemingly want him to do. Abrego Garcia was a foreign terrorist. He is an MS-13 gang member. He was engaged in human trafficking. He illegally came into our country. And so deporting him back to El Salvador was always going to be the end result. There is never going to be a world in which this is an individual who's going to live a peaceful life in Maryland, because he is a foreign terrorist and an MS-13 gang member. Not only have we confirmed that, President Bukele yesterday in the Oval Office confirmed that as well. So he went back to his home country, where he will face consequences for his gang affiliation and his engagement in human trafficking. I'm not sure what is so difficult about this for everyone in the media to understand, and it's appalling, truly appalling, that there has been so much time covering this alleged human trafficker and this gang member, MS-13 gang member. It's truly striking to me.
It is, but that's what they love. They love the diminishment of America and the evaporation of our laws, the diluting of it, right? The watering down of law and order. You can just come into the country, and as long as you break into someone's house and you make a bed and you clean a little bit, you dust off some stuff and you like paint the walls or something maybe, and while you're doing all of that, you maybe also sell some fentanyl or human traffic or whatever. As long as you do those things, then the law should just allow you to do whatever you want, and we can't enforce our own borders or our own laws against terrorist or drug gang bangers in America. And so she is rightfully furious, as are many of us. It's nice to see her throw that on display. Shout out to Caroline Levitt. Now, Trump also said this, moments ago, yesterday, the illegal criminal who was allowed into our country by crooked Joe Biden was convicted of the heinous murder of Rachel Morin in another case where yet another illegal is killing another American. Rachel was a beautiful mother of 5 who's now dead from Maryland, and her life was taken at the hands of a monster who should never have been here in in the first place. They're like, yeah, but Rob, he was coming to build a better life, and he's like a barber now. He's like an electrician, ACLU, he's trans, political attacks, papusa. The fake news should be focusing on the beautiful life and the tragic death of this Maryland mother rather than the so-called Maryland father, who is actually an MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist from El Salvador. We will never forget Rachel Morin, who are committed to protecting women like her across the country, and we will deport illegal murderers, the rapists, and the criminals. Make America great again and get the hell out of our country. So here is what CNN was saying, even confirming, according to Eric Doherty, that she's saying Trump is not violating the rule. They did not order the administration to return this dude back. They didn't. And Trump is in compliance. So all of the dumb senators who were like, we're going to go down to El Salvador because Trump's in violation of an order, pencil neck shift, constitutional crisis, constantly whining. They're lying to you. Even CNN can figure it out.
President Trump and President Bukele made it clear that Abrego Garcia will not be returned to the United States, despite this U.S. Supreme Court ruling saying that Trump had to facilitate his return. So are they just ignoring a U.S. Supreme Court ruling, or is the fact that the ruling was so mushy, in your words,
yes,
giving him an opening?
It's a technical term I learned in law school, Jake. Mushy. Look, they're working within the ambiguity that the Supreme Court justices
thanks, John
gave
Roberts.
them. They did not order the administration to return him to the United States.
Oh, they didn't.
They said that they need to facilitate this return. They could have said, we order him returned, but they didn't do that.
Nope.
So you heard the Attorney General. She was being very careful in the Oval Office when she was asked, would you help? She says, of course we'd provide a plane, right? Thereby facilitating whatever El Salvador is doing. The Supreme Court appeared to defer to the executive branch, given that this is an international matter. And you see, yes, it does look a little bit like a semantic game, but they are playing within the bounds of what the Supreme Court ruled. So no, they are not defying this order.
And take a listen to how White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller views it.
And a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador.
Stephen, you got the win. I don't know why he had to go so far, because what he's saying is not completely accurate. No, talk to the kidnapping. All right, so the district court said that the administration needed to facilitate and effectuate the return of this man to the United States and gave a date. The Supreme Court says, yes, you need to facilitate this.
Not effectuate.
But when it comes to effectuating, making it happen, they said this needs to go back down to the lower court. They need to clarify what that meant. And they warned the lower court, you need to be deferential to the executive branch, because we're talking about foreign affairs. And they gave no deadline. So again, they're not running afoul, but Stephen's summary of the case there, the holding, is not exactly accurate.
Well, it's very favorable to him, right? Yeah, no, they said have deference, and there was no order in there to release him other than to facilitate it. So if there's not an order to release him, that's a big victory if that's what they want. So Trump is saying, no, we're facilitating it all they want. They could have easily just said, let him go. They didn't do it. And now the judge is like screaming about it, going to go through discovery and try to hold them in contempt, because she knows she can't order him to do anything. Otherwise, that would make her the president. That's separation of powers. It's designed that way for a very good reason. Trump and the executive branch are politically accountable. If you don't like what they're doing with Kilmar, you can go vote against them. They can get obliterated in the midterms. They can get run out. People can scream to their congresspeople, and they can impeach President Trump over that. That's why they are delegated with the execution of the law, so that we can hold them accountable. This judge is not. She doesn't get to run the country. That's illegal, unconstitutional, and even CNN can see it. So here is what Tom Homan said when he was out recently.
There are laws on the books that make it a criminal offense to shield or harbor illegal immigrants, like the sanctuary states city leaders have been doing. Do you think they should be prosecuted, the full extent of law, and possibly put in prison?
Absolutely. And hold tight on that one, because it's coming. It's coming. I've been clearing that since day one.
All right, let's go. Tom Homan's not playing around. And of course, we have a great unity happening out there. While all these people are talking about these deportations of illegal aliens and gangbangers and more, the president is reaching out with an olive branch. Okay, we're not hateful to any groups who come into the country legally. You just can't come in illegally. In fact, if you come in legally, President Trump would like you to make America great again, or in Spanish, make America grande otra vez. Here's the president learning how to speak some Spanish at the White House.
Mr. President, I'd like to teach you how to say, let's make America great again in Spanish. So, vamos a hacer América grande otra vez.
America grande otra vez.
Yeah,
Mr. President, I'd like...
muy bien, Mr. President. We're making America grande otra vez. And so thank you, Mr. President. And if you're here legally and you want to make America great again, we want you to be here. Welcome to America. Thanks for following the rules. Thanks for being a part of this beautiful experiment. We're going to make America great again together.